Beneath the pine canopies of North Florida lies a hidden world, cool, dark, and carved by time. But the story of Florida's caves isn't about geology. It's also about the grit, hard work, and the legacy of a New Deal program that put young men to work and left behind something remarkable. Today we're exploring the Florida Caverns and uncovering how the Civilian Conservation Corps shaped one of the Sunshine State's most unexpected natural wonders. Welcome to the Florida Caves.
Okay, y'all, so if anyone here has to leave our cave for any reason, claustrophobia, medical condition, or emergency, you can let me know at any time. I can escort anybody out to our nurse exit no more than 5 minutes away. With that being said, y'all ready to go?
Yes, sir!
Okay, so you guys go down, watch your heads, watch your... Water. Our local river scholarship Flow River, and that was flowed through this cavern, eating all of our limestone away in a process called erosion. Over time, that opened up all of our rooms. Eventually, a lot of that water receded from our cavern, going down through here, sitting way far in the back where we can't see it, but it's way back there, sitting back there today. And the rest of that water didn't leave with that went into our Florida aquifer, which is only 25 feet below us in this room. And our Florida aquifer is a giant underground water cavern that spans the entire state of Florida, giving all of us our drinking water. But guys, we are 60 feet below the surface. This is the deepest point in our cavern we're going today. With our basement right down here sitting at 65 feet. But with the recent rain, it's a bit too wet and muddy for us to go down there today. But with that rain being said, our cavern floods. Every spring, water will come in from our ceiling very, very slowly, taking days to weeks for water to reach the deepest point of our cavern, being down here. But when that does happen, water from the rain will flood up our basement to this ridge line, and on the rare occasion, up to my waist in this room. When this happens, you can see different critters from our aquifer come up and sit down on our ridgeline, such as our blind crawfish and our extremely rare Georgia blind salamander. Any questions? Look right back here will be our next room. Before we go down, wash your head. There's 2 to 3 weddings down here every single year. But I'm talking about our flowstone. And our flowstone will be right back here. This will be your generic version of flowstone. We make the water flowing down the entire side of the cavern wall. As water flows down this wall, it picks up minerals. And due to a process called deposition, it places these minerals along the entire wall face, building up our formation. Now right here in the wall next to you guys, this flowstone is called our cave drapery. And this flowstone is made by water going down the cavern wall in a singular line. And now up here in the ceiling, y'all can see our soda straws being formed by carbonic acid. A carbonic acid is made as rainwater falls to our atmosphere, picking up dust and carbon dioxide. And when it lands going through our topsoil, it picks up acids in the topsoil, including more carbon dioxide. But when that water hits our limestone, it starts eating through it, picking up minerals. And when it gets down to us, it puts these minerals in a hollow ring on top of our ceiling. This ring will get 12 inches in length and seal up, making our stalactites. They hang tight up onto the ceiling. Now while these get bigger, they'll be dripping their excess minerals on the ground, making our stalagmites. You might trip over one of them. But eventually these two will meet somewhere along the way, making these big old columns. And just to show you guys how old this column right here is, how old everything in our cavern is. It takes 100 years for a single cubic inch to grow in our cavern. So our soda straws are hundreds to 1,200 years old, with the floor above us being 60 to 70 million years old. Any questions? But these are very, very slow. They're gradual. There could be a shift happening right now. We wouldn't even know about it for the next couple 100 years until another fracture just like that one over appears. But it will all reseal, leading us to our first mineral we call calcite. Calcite's the white mineral found above that fracture, giving us being made from bones and fossils and giving us all of our calcium. Now right back here on this muddy brown rock, that's called our manganese, giving us all of our magnesium. Also being the reason why we don't drink the cave water, because manganese acts as a natural laxative. Now up in the ceiling above y'all can see our iron deposits coming from clay in our topsoil, giving it that reddish brown color. But y'all, when the CCC, or Civilian Conservation Corps, came down here in 1938, these were the workers working their cavern until 1942, making these pathways for us, mapping out this cavern and naming all of our rooms. But they did not name this room the fracture room. The first ever name they would have given this room would have been the Donald Duck room.
Huh. Make the sound.
Make the sound.
darkness.
Wow.
3, 2, 1.
I never.
So I'm going to show y'all just how much the CCC would have had with their oil lanterns walking through the cavern for the very first time. Not much light. Still not enough light. But as they walked through this cavern, this floor was not flattened for them. They were walking through, they would trip, fall, hit their heads on all the stalactites on the ceiling and the stalagmites, rocks, and holes over the floor. But there are about 300 workers down here, and not a single one died. Every worker that worked down here made it out alive. But us tour guides get bored like making up cool ghost stories.
It's cool.
Okay, also welcome to the waterfall room. Waterfall formations right here and right back there. And y'all on a good heavy rain, it's going, y'all can see water flowing down like a waterfall, filling up these cascading rooms from below it. But it's kind of dry, not much to look at. So we've been focusing on our ceiling. And y'all, this ceiling is about 60 to 70 million years old, as was once the ocean floor. Florida was once a vast, shallow, warm sea 60 to 70 million years ago. Meaning y'all can find all types of stuff in the ceiling, like seashells. Y'all can even find a sea urchin fossil back where y'all standing over there in that area. So as y'all Did you know that these bats pollinate more than bees do?
Had no idea.
Yep, they pollinate at night. Just when all the bees are out in the sleep, they'll fly swoop down, hit flowers, and they pick up insects. And all that flower coats their fur, all the pollen, all that kind of stuff. As they flap their wings, all that pollen's more widespread because they're up high. it.